Welcome to a new daily top Askreddit video. Today's topic: what is the scariest thing you've ever seen while driving at night? I used to deliver pizza, and often had deliveries right at midnight when we closed. One time, late at night, I'm driving back to the store through a small neighborhood. Up ahead I see something. It's perfectly spherical, bright forward/shiny thing, just hovering about 6 feet off the ground. Not moving at all. I pull up very slowly. Still doesn't move. Still can't comprehend what I'm looking at. Just this shiny hovering orb in the road at midnight. At this point my curiosity has overridden my fear. I'm the guy in the horror movie who dies first because I just gotta know. Either I die or I get a cool story, right? So I hop out of the car, and slowly walk up to it. I'm right in front of it and still can't understand what I'm seeing. So I reach out and touch it. It's a balloon. One of those foil birthday balloons with the streetlights shining on it, making it look weird out of context in the middle of the night on an empty road. This is my favorite response because it feels like exactly how I would react. Yep. Had a few of these moments in my life, where it's like for a moment my brain has temporarily disconnected all memories that would place the object, and I'm left in a state of complete childlike wonder. And then my brain comes back online, and all I can do is laugh. Could you imagine being the bystander watching this unfold? It's the middle of the night, a car pulls up and stops. After a few moments the driver gets out, tentatively walks up to and touches a balloon, then gets back in the car and drives on. Imagine staring out of your window, seeing this weird floating ball of light. You're very curious on what it is, but you haven't managed to gather the courage yet. Besides, it's cold outside and you don't feel like getting your jacket. Suddenly, a car drives up and stops in front of the object. You watch in awe as the pizza driver steps out, touches the orb and turns back with an expression of disappointment, getting back into his car and driving away. You would probably think for the rest of your life what the orb showed that poor pizza driver to make him look so disappointed. A 6-foot kangaroo standing in the middle of a pitch-black road at 3 a.m. in the morning, missed it by a bee's dick. Fun fact, bees' dicks explode during sex. So does mine. Fun fact, bees' dicks explode during sex. Beekeeper here, also enrolled in a master beekeeping program, the penis does not in fact explode. What happens is the drone, male bee, ejaculates with such force, the testicles can, sometimes, explode. Then his dick gets ripped out of him, along with his intestines, when the no longer virgin queen departs. Honey bee queens only go on one mating excursion /flight in their lives and can mate with multiple drones. A good flight is around 25 drones. My story is similar. I was driving along the highway at night and in the right-hand lane was a giant fucking moose crossing the highway. He was taller than my car and had some huge fucking antlers. That's definitely a moose, big and antlery. Thank you for the silver fellow mooseologists of Reddit. I slammed the brakes once because I saw a deer in my peripheral vision. Upon closer inspection, it was a mounted deer head on a stick in the middle of the woods. Slammed the gas after I realized that might have been a setup by game wardens to catch illegal poachers at night. What do they do? Sit somewhere and watch, or do they usually have cameras set up? I was on I-70 in Colorado going towards Utah, pulled over at a gas station at 8 p.m. Fueling up, I noticed a couple of attractive women pumping gas. On the other side of the pump was the man in his late 40s, just staring at these young women without notice of anything else going on around him. I walk inside to go grab some food for the next few hours of driving. When I come out I see both the younger women's car and the older man's truck are gone. I decided to hang out at the gas station for the next hour to catch a little sleep before hitting the road again. After driving for a few hours, I was speeding heavy. I pull over at yet another gas station. The young women are there getting gas and eating some food on a picnic table. Looked like they had been there for a while. I didn't see any sign or the man in the truck, but can't say I was looking very hard for it. Well, here is where it got creepy as hell. Can't say I didn't stare at them a bit. I mean, they were good-looking women. As I am watching them leave, I see in the next parking lot over some headlights turn on and it's the same man as before. He leaves when the women leave once again. Okay, that's a bit weird, but could just be a coincidence as there weren't many places to pull over. I leave a few minutes later and catch up to them. Now this guy is riding their ass with his high beams on. I decided to slow down and stay a distance behind the truck. 10 minutes or so later the women pull over once again to most likely get this guy off their ass. With a sign of relief the truck keeps going and I continue on my way. About 1 mile down the road the guy just pulls off to the side of the highway. So I pull off a mile or so down the road again. Sure enough the women drive by and the guy is still following them. At this point we are out in the middle of nowhere and too many coincidences have happened. I called the cops to alert them and about 15 minutes the cops pulled the guy over. I could have just seen too many horror movies that started like this and overreacted, but you'll never know. Better safe than sorry. We appreciate you. It was a good call to alert the police. Even if it was a coincidence, no harm would have been done to the guy, and if it wasn't, you might have just saved those 2 girls' lives. You definitely prevented something on the range from bad to horrific happening to those women. Thank you. A dead, butchered horse laying in the road. Someone had completely skinned and butchered a horse, took the choice pieces of meat, and just dumped it on the highway. I almost crashed into it. WTF. I'm guessing it fell out of their truck on their way to dump it, or else they hit it on the road by accident and decided not to waste the meat. I've seen this happen with deer but never a horse. Where are you? Horse meat isn't much of a thing in North America. Southwest Louisiana man. I lived way out in the woods at that time, 40 minutes from anything. Some of the people out there get pretty weird. I was driving home late one night and was driving on a dark stretch of the highway. Suddenly a body was in front of me. I tried to swerve out of the way but it was too late. My bumper was hanging on the ground. The guy died. And I went to a nearby gas station not knowing what to do, was 18. When the tow truck pulled my car up onto it, there were a bunch of blood and guts on the bottom. I could get that image out of my head. Apparently a drunk driver with 5 DWIs had hit a guy on the motorcycle prior. For years after I had serious depression and thought about it every night before sleep. That's awful. I can't imagine that. So sorry. Thank you. I think for the most part I've gotten past it, but it was rough for a long time and was hard to deal with everyday life. I was driving on the expressway around 2 a.m. and a semi hit a car and it went into the median. The car basically folded into itself and was beyond smashed. I can't imagine that person survived. It was incredibly sad and terrifying to see. Before my parents moved to where I am, I'd often visit my hometown up north, a 10-hour drive all on the same highway. Made that trip several times and there was almost always some tragic crash at least once during the drive. I'm not super religious but I got in the habit of saying a prayer for them and their families. Hate seeing that. That's a long drive. It's really terrifying to see crashes like that because it really could happen to anyone. I was driving down the highway during the middle of the afternoon and watched a guy get out of a minivan parked on the side of the road and run out in front of an 18-wheeler. He got hit and died, I assume on impact. Shit fucking sucked. I went back to the office and asked if I could go home early. You are much stronger than me. I wouldn't have been able to make it to the office. If I did I would lay down and cry at my desk. A hitchhiker almost leaping out in front of my car on a dark forest road late at night. The woman literally popped out of nowhere. Had to drift into the oncoming lane. Luckily there was no one else and painted median there. Read a police report that she ended up getting hit minutes after I drove by. She was intoxicated and running from the police. Pretty fucking creepy. I hope she's alright. I can't imagine what the driver that hit her was thinking. Had a similar thing, but it was a suicide attempt. He put his shirt over his head so he couldn't see and jumped out in front of our car. We missed him by inches, also we were young, dumb and drunk. We would have been jailed for years, I'm sure. Having someone jump in front of my car is one of my greatest fears. Anytime there's someone walking along the side of the road I get tense and watch them like a hawk. The psychological stress something like that would bring is unimaginable for me, not to mention the potential of getting in legal trouble if the law found you at any sort of fault. While traveling east just outside Flagstaff, Arizona around midnight I was in the fast lane doing about 80 miles per hour. There was a bend in the road and you could see the headlights of the westbound lanes filter in between the trees. It was funny because I thought the lights kinda looked like they were coming at me. Then they really were. I screamed obscenities and jerked the wheel just in time to let a speeding wrong-way driver fly by me in the lane I was just in. After skidding to a stop in the shoulder I called the cops to report it. Could you describe the vehicle? Yes, it was a dark blur with headlights. Wait, did they literally go through the median filled with trees? How does that even happen? No, they must have gotten onto the interstate from an off-ramp. The lights from the other direction were dim and somewhat far away as the highway was divided by about 100. When I saw the headlights coming for me, I briefly thought it was from the other side of the highway, but I realized just in time that it was a collision course,